Welcome to Post Games, everybody, a podcast about how and why we love video games. My name is Chris Plant, and this week I'd like to tell you about Death Stranding, Dunkey, and the magic of changing your mind. Let's go back to November 2019, a simpler time. Hideo Kojima and Kojima Productions released a video game about a gig worker who treks across an empty United States, connecting terrified and quarantined Americans by delivering to them on-demand packages and getting them connected to possibly the greatest version of Wi-Fi ever. What was weird is this game, Death Stranding, came out months before the COVID-19 pandemic spread across the US. Popular opinion around Death Stranding, it would evolve, especially as its story felt more and more like some strange premonition. But at first, feelings were, let's say, mixed. Despite Kojima's pedigree as the creator and the director of the iconic Metal Gear Solid series, Death Stranding left most critics puzzled, if not downright irritated. Players were tasked with spending hours slowly carrying packages across mountainous landscapes that looked less like the US than they did the Scottish Highlands. And simply tripping on a stone could mean mission failure, as the game's hero, Sam, played by a stoic but lovely Norman Reedus, careened down a hill, boxes and bones cracking on the rocks. As for the action, killing enemies was all but forbidden, which is weird because this is a video game with guns in it, and that's not usually how these things go. A dead body left undisposed of in Death Stranding's universe would trigger a nuclear-sized explosion. So if you kill somebody, prepare to pop them on your back and hike that corpse miles to an incineration center, lest you leave a hole the size of a small town in the middle of your map. Now, there were ways to respond to this. Sure, you could evade those human marauders, but invisible ghosts haunted the massive open world of Death Stranding, constantly threatening to pull our hero into a thick black tar filled with souls trapped between the lands of the living and the dead, and I'm serious here, the only way to fight them was throwing grenades of your own blood, piss, and shit. Anyway, I adored this game. It might not sound like it, but I did. I struggled to really explain why, though. Ironically, it was a furious YouTube review that finally gave me the words. Each hilarious attack doubling as an enumeration of what made the game special and unique. That review was by today's guest, video game Dunkey. Since the release of Death Stranding and Dunkey's video, a lot has changed. For starters, the world would go through said global pandemic. Fiction became reality as lockdowns had millions of people turning to video chats for socialization and delivery apps for food and goods. Many players would find a new connection and resonance with this game. The game itself would change too. The literal landscape of the open world became more accommodating as more players built bridges and roads for others to benefit from. In Kojima Productions, well, they would produce a director's cut that further smoothed the game's rough edges, added quality of life features, and a little bit more combat stuff, for the people who were expecting that sort of thing. And then there's this week, when Death Stranding 2 on the beach became available to everybody. I've been spending the past couple of weeks playing this game, and I can tell you, Kojima Productions has produced a sequel that is more streamlined. Its cutscenes, they're briefer. Pieces are filled with an action reminiscent of what the director Hideo Kojima is known for. I think it's the best game that's come out this year. I'll share more about why I think that is. But first and foremost, I knew I had to talk with Dunkey, the critic who inadvertently got me into this weird, prickly series, and whose own opinions on Death Stranding and other games have evolved over the years, something that he's chronicled in his YouTube videos for over a decade. This week on Post Games, a very special Dunkey Death Stranding spectacular. Act 1. Dunkey on his love-hate relationship with Death Stranding and life as a YouTube game critic. A bonus act for Patreon subscribers, Dunkey stayed around to talk about video game critics and criticism, a subject that definitely has not caused any controversy for him in the past. Act 2, a guide to Death Stranding 2's big, weird ideas. Now, you're familiar with all sorts of video game guides that teach you how to play the game, but here's a guide that will help you enjoy thinking about it. That's right, this one's for the book-level weirdos. This one's for the people who want a little help on knowing what themes to spot in a video game where you carry around a talking puppet who gives you life advice. And, of course, Act 3, the news of the week. We have all of that and more, but here's where I tell you, if you enjoy the show, consider subscribing on Patreon at patreon.com/postgames or leaving a review on Apple Podcast. Things like that, they go a long way to keeping this show healthy and sustainable. And with that, let's connect some strands. It is a new year and you want to eat better, but you still have no time to work with. You have no energy. You have so much going on in your life. What do? You do Factor. 2 minutes, real food, and you are done. You're not failing at eating healthy. You're failing at having 3 extra hours in every night. You're failing at not being a chef and wanting to do cleanup. Factor takes care of that. It has delicious food that is good for you. You got lean proteins, colorful veggies, whole food ingredients, and none of the yucky stuff, no refined sugars, no artificial sweeteners. It will offer you whatever you need to match your lifestyle. For me, Mediterranean diet, it really works well. But maybe you need something else, like a high-protein diet or GLP-1 support or ready-to-eat salads. Whatever it is, Factor wants to meet you on your page. Always fresh, never frozen, and like I said, ready in 2 minutes with no prep, no cleanup, just chill. I use Factor. I think that you should too. Head to factormeals.com/postgames, 50 off, and use code postgames50 off to get 50% off your first Factor box, plus free breakfast for a year. Offer only valid for new Factor customers with code and qualifying auto-renewing subscriptions purchase. Make healthier eating easy with Factor. Act 1. Dunkey does Death Stranding. Dunkey, aka Jason Gastro, is one of the most popular and successful video game critics on YouTube. For the past 15 years, he's routinely published on the Video Game Dunkey channel, where over 7.5 million subscribers watch his unique blend of video essay and stand-up set, though I suspect he'd be hesitant to put such a label to what he does. Gastro's persona is clever as it is chill, like the sort of cool clerk you'd meet at an old movie rental store, to the point that some commenters have wondered if it's a conscious character affect. And as you'll hear in this interview, it's just him. In 2019, Gene Park at the Washington Post wondered if Dunkey could be the, quote, Lester Bangs of video games. For anybody under 40, I'm sorry. It's a reference to the iconic rock critic. His intellect and vulgarity, humor, and personal tangents departed from the more staid, practiced, and formalistic work of his contemporaries in the 1970s. You know that movie Almost Famous? Philip Seymour Hoffman? He plays Lester Bangs. More recently, Gastro has become the face of indie game publisher Big Mode, which published last year's excellent Puzzlevania Animal Well and this year's stellar 2D roguelike shooter, Star of Providence. But he's still best known for his videos, which he publishes on average once a week. Now, I've long loved Dunkey's videos, even the ones that gleefully take pot shots at game critics, and even when I don't agree with every point. But agreeing with every point is not the point of criticism. He gets something many critics don't. A great review doesn't just tell us if something is good or bad. A great review captures how it makes us feel. In terms of Death Stranding, well, I let the initial video published 5 years ago speak for itself.
It's almost impossible to believe this is the same guy who brought us the incredibly refined and dynamic gameplay of the Metal Gear Solid series. The actors don't understand Death Stranding. Kojima doesn't understand Death Stranding. So why the fuck should I even bother trying to draw meaning from 40 hours of pointless rambling? I can only hope that this is the last Strand type game, because it is a complete and utter embarrassment.
2 years after the video, Dunkey returned with a new take on Death Stranding, having played through the game a second time. And it turns out he liked it. Well, it's complicated. With Death Stranding 2 now available, I thought it would be a great time to hear from Dunkey on his current relationship with the series, why it is important to let yourself change your opinions, and also hear his current thoughts on video game culture, life as a creator, and the current state of games criticism. With that, let's chat with Dunkey. I wanted to talk to you because you did something really rare on the internet, which is you changed your opinion of something, which people usually advise you not to do on the internet.com. So I wanted to hear first, what was your initial reaction to Death Stranding?
Well, like, before it came out, I was really, really excited. I was like, oh, that's going to be the best game ever. But they weren't showing, like, any gameplay, really. For, like, how long were they hyping that up? And they just showed nothing but cutscenes and stuff, you know? And you had, like, no idea what it even was. He was on this, like, the beach, and there was all these, like, dead whales and stuff on this beach, you know? Then there was, like, invisible things, like, making footprints, and, like, a dude was, like, getting, like, strung up and killed. It was so weird. And then it was, like, I think it was, like, just before the game came out, they showed a video. It was like, yeah, it's like you're like a mailman. Like, what? No, that's not what I thought.
And then what did you think once you actually played it?
I hated it. I hated it totally. I was so, like, you know, it's like Kojima. Every game he does, it's like a game that, like, pushes gaming forward. And then this game was, like, so, I don't know, I just hated it. I was so angry at it.
I, am a journalist by trade, so I really wanted to make sure I got some quotes right here. You said it fucking sucks ass. Is that right?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Death Stranding is one of the most disappointing video games I have ever played. The gameplay is walking. You put some packages on your back and you walk them from point A to point B.
Right. And how many times did you play through the entirety of this game that fucking sucks ass?
Well, now I've played it three and a half times maybe. You know, it's a pretty long game. If you're, like, going for the 100%, it's, like, really, really long. But just, like, to just play, like, the mandatory get to the end credits is probably, like, 40, something like that.
Why did you keep playing?
Well, it's Kojima, so you gotta play it again. Even if it sucks, you still gotta play it again, just out of respect.
You make this video 5 years ago. So now 3 years ago, you made another review of the game. And how often do you double dip on your channel?
I've gone back a couple times on ones that, maybe Uncharted 4, went back, Red Dead 2. It's usually, I don't know, some games you just come back and it's like, but you changed a lot over, like, that was a pretty big chunk of time probably between those two. So your whole perspective on, you know, what you want from a game, what you value changes a lot over 5-6 years, you know?
Why did you feel compelled to go back on this one?
That's strange. Well, you know, it's Kojima. And it was a weird game. You know, it was like, I hate it, but it was also, like, weird. And it was like, you know, he's always hyping it up as like, it's the Strand game. It's the first Strand game. I just thought that was funny that he kept saying it's a Strand game.
Hideo Kojima has famously described Death Stranding as being the first Strand-type game. Truly, it is a game so unique and revolutionary that he had to create an entire new genre of video games. And now that we can finally get our hands on this innovation, we can answer the question that has perplexed us for so long. Just what is a Strand-type game? Well, it's a special type of game where everything about it is a complete piece of shit.
It was a pretty unique premise. Like, you know, it's a fun premise that you're like a mailman. That is a fun, like, video gamey premise of just like get some like bulky crap that's like
Hard to move around and get it somewhere else. That's like a very video gamey idea.
What about it started to click for you? Because it seems like you liked it more the second time around, I think.
Yeah. I think the first time I was kind of like, I had no idea. I was just like kind of gunning through, I guess. I had no idea of like the structure of the games. I wasn't like trying to take my time, I guess. But I didn't even know you were supposed to take your time. I didn't know anything like what you were supposed to do, how you were supposed to approach it. The second time I was like just kind of taking my time and just doing like, I did like all the Jeff Keighley's missions. I got all his stuff that he wanted. He wanted like a lot of action figures. So I just kept going back between like this wind farm and Jeff Keighley's house and bringing them action figures. I'm like, wait a minute now. It's more fun when you're just going and doing it at your own pace and just taking it really slow and not like, I guess it's like, it's at its best when it's like not trying to challenge you.
I'm curious how you relate to this and like how much time you actually have to play games for yourself. But for me, there are games that are like bad review games because the whole point is to chill out. I was watching the first video you did, and you're right of like just not knowing what the hell the game is. The video rules because you are playing it like an action game almost. You're like hardcore sprinting and like power jumping through the place and just eating shit time and again, and it's beautiful. And then the second time you're in kind of like, I don't know, I feel silly calling it meditative mode, but there's like a vibe,
just chilling out mode. But there is shooting and guns and fighting monster whales and Metal Gear Solid stuff too. So it's like, what's the way this is?
When you make a video and it is up forever, you know, or until YouTube dies one day with the heat death of the universe, do you worry about contradicting yourself? You say something in 2025, you contradict something that you said in 2017. People will definitely let you know in the comments. I'm curious if you have any anxiety about that whenever you're making something.
No, not about that at all. It's, you know, video games are so complicated and so complex, and it's the hundreds of people working on this like work of art for a huge chunk of their life, and I'm just like playing it in a couple hours. My opinion is never going to be like definitive or anything. It's just what I thought at that time.
Have you had a chance to play Death Stranding 2?
No, not at all. It looks cool.
Really? They didn't send you a copy ahead to make sure that you were like all set?
I'm pretty sure they're like trying to make sure I don't get a copy when it comes out.
Oh, I'm shocked.
Don't sell it to me.
Have you met Kojima at any press events or anything?
No, never.
If you ever got trapped in a room with Kojima, do you have a question that you would want him to answer? As I think of you as like a pretty hardcore Kojima fan.
Yeah, I'd probably ask him a movie question. What's some good movies, Kojima?
I brought 3 Death Stranding terms. I'm hoping that you could provide some definitions for them.
I know all this.
You ready?
Yep.
Okay. Well, let's start easy. What is beaches?
Beach, that's definitely where the ocean is. In the Death Stranding world, though, it's like you die. It's like he's like, the main guy is Sam Bridges, right?
Yeah.
And he's the repatriate. I don't know how you say it. And whenever he dies, he goes to like the beach world, but then he comes back. You see?
That's basically right. Yeah.
And then like when he's in the beach world, he's always seeing this lady and she's like, hey, you're on the beach world. All right. Now you go back to the game though. And he's like, oh, nice. Can't die. So you can never lose, really. It's kind of a get out of jail free card.
I have a trickier one. What is a still mother?
Still mother, that's like, the hell is that? That's like, there was the lady, and she was like, there was a baby on the ceiling, and the baby was invisible, and she was like, I'm gonna cut the baby down. Watch this. And she was not, I don't remember her doing anything really in the whole story. She has like this really cool cutscene with the invisible baby, and then I can't tell you anything else about her at all. She has like a twin or something. One of them dies, but then they're like, it's okay, we're both the same anyway. It's a mail game. It's about mailing stuff, though. You're like a delivery guy.
I got one last one for you.
Right.
What is a Monster energy drink?
That's, okay, now that, I know that. You drink those to kind of bring Sam's stamina back. Because when you're walking, as he runs out of stamina, so he drinks this great energy drink, Monster energy drink, and that refills his stamina. And it doesn't seem like it's like the most artsy-fartsy thing to kind of have that ad in there, but they do. I think maybe they took it out. I don't know. And then he starts drinking beers, too. And that doesn't seem like it would be great for a long-distance hike to be drinking beers, but that works too.
No, it seems like you'd be really tired. They definitely cut it out. It's not in Death Stranding 2 either, and it kind of bums me out.
They got rid of the Monster energy drink?
Yeah, I mean, no free ads. You were just giving it away over here. I think we have you officially saying Monster energy drink, a great drink.
This great energy drink, Monster energy drink.
If you ended up playing the game 3 times, what about it stays with you? Why do you keep going back to it?
Well, it's kind of fun. It's kind of a fun game. I like the world. Isn't it like how many times have you played it?
I've played it 1.5, and I'm now almost through Death Stranding 2. I wanted to go back and play the director's cut, because it seems like a very different game.
It's pretty similar. There's some cool stuff.
It has human catapults in it. That seems like a pretty big change. When I the first time I played that game, like I literally tripped over the rocks in the beginning. They were playing that beautiful song, and I fell down a mountain. And then everybody's like, "Oh yeah, I love this game. It's so easy." And then they like show me a clip of it, and like 5 catapults to get across the continent. I'm like, "Fuck off."
Well, it was changed a lot too, because it's like this online thing where it's like when it first came out, nothing was built. But then it pulls stuff from other players' gameplay. So now I feel like it's way easier than it was when it first came out.
For, weak newbie gamers. I think that's the official quote. Got it. Okay, I want to change gears a little bit and talk about just what the hell you do, if that's cool by you.
Okay, sure.
Let's do it. First off, you play a lot of shit. Like, a lot of garbage games.
They're all
I'm
good.
curious, just tell me what attracts you to like bad stuff, or do you even think it's bad?
Well, some stuff is bad. Some stuff that people say is bad is better than they say it is. But then some stuff that people say is good is not good at all, and it's insanely bad. So it's a good mix.
Give me some names here. What is an example of something that people say is really bad that it's actually good?
Well, Sonic R. People always say Sonic R is garbage, and I just accepted it because it does look pretty bad. Then when you play it, it's like, man, this is kind of fun. It's like you can't like turn. It's like a racing game where you can't turn right because it's like the turning is really slow, but the music is really good. So it's like, all right. And the levels are pretty fun.
As long as you just listen to the music and go straight.
Well, no, listen, you can turn. It's just, it takes a decent amount of time. You got to like, okay, I'm turning in 50 seconds. Let's start now. Kind of like Gran Turismo.
What's a game that is seen as good but is actually garbage?
Oh, man, everything that like excites the internet lately, everything that they think is good, not good at all. Just anything they say is good. Animal well, that's really good. That is a good game. But that's like, cool. They kind of mess up sometimes and like a good game on accident.
In the past couple of years, you became a game publisher and a human publisher. You made a human. Do you have time to play games for yourself, not just for like a future video?
Well, I usually try to make sure that it's for a video. Yeah.
Do you feel guilty if you're like playing something just for yourself?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, it's like time is so strict now. I don't think I'm going to be like 100%ing Death Stranding 2-3 times. I think I just got to take my time and just enjoy it the first time around now.
I can't wait till I call in 2 years about the 4th playthrough of Death Stranding 2. I can play that quote back to you. Have your reviews changed since you got into game publishing and you learned more about the development process?
Yeah, a lot. I try to be a lot more like lenient on just games developers, but also just more kind of ambiguous. Also, not so like definitive and saying this sucks because I fell down. This sucks ass because this guy's a fucker. Try to be like, oh, this is kind of weird that they did this because it's like this. I don't know. Trying to be like less, because a game, when you're playing a game, the games now are so like complex and long, and people just want like a black and white answer. They just want like is it a 0 or a 10? And it's like, no, this is like 100 million hour game. You won't figure it out until you're like 70 hours in. Maybe you should have figured it out when you were 20 hours in. That probably would have been better design. Then you got a guy called like Die Hard Man. Can't tell if he's important or not. Can't tell how he's related to Death Man. Then they got a different game coming out called this guy Suda 51. He's making a game called I'm a Dead Man. But Dead Man is from Death Stranding, so that's going to make me even more confused.
Oh, I almost assumed that you played Death Stranding 2. You're going to get more confused. Dead Man becomes a different character within like the first 5 minutes. They're like, yeah, hey, remember Dead Man? And you're like, yeah. And they're like, yeah, well, Dead Man, it's a little bit different. And you remember Die Hard Man? You're like, oh, yeah. And you're like, yeah, he's a mannequin now, but he's also not himself. And the mannequin is a 2D art. This sounds like I'm totally making bullshit up. This is the first 5 minutes of the game. So you have the most desirable job amongst teenagers right now. Like teenagers, they all want to be a streamer. They all want to be a content maker, according to, random surveys that I read somewhere.
Really?
If a 17-year-old came up to you today and they asked you for advice, what would you tell them?
If they want to be a gaming streamer, a gaming YouTuber, find some way to be unique, I guess. Find some kind of new twist, some kind of unique thing, because, so many people doing it right now.
Do you feel like you see a lot of people doing the Dunkey thing now?
Not really. No, I feel like there was that for a little, but now that's kind of past.
Yeah,
I don't really see
there's no money in it.
I don't see that many people like trying to figure out Death Stranding. They're just kind of playing like Fortnite, shooting at like Peter Griffin or some shit.
What's the most irritating part of your job that most people don't see or notice?
It's like the tedious tasks that you have to do, especially like when you edit like a big video, fancy video. It just takes forever to edit it right and sort through all the footage and get all these stupid ass programs to work. They're always messing up. And like when you record audio, it's always fucking up and sounding like crap. You'll record the line just perfect, and then the microphone will be like and make like a crack, and it's like, oh, I hate that. So just working with computers, I hate it. I hate computers and technology and electronics.
A while ago, you did that, like, I'm going to make short videos every day, period. Yeah. Which I think was a bit more of a criticism of YouTube than anything else. But did you end up enjoying that, of not having to do the makeup polish every day?
Yeah, that was fun. That was really crazy, though. That was not sustainable. I was like waking up at like 7 a.m. and working on stuff till like midnight or 1, and then just doing that for a month. But it was fun.
So, I feel like having a kid would make that not work.
That doesn't work. That's not compatible.
What's the best part of the job that people don't see or notice?
Well, for me, I feel like I can kind of do what I want. I don't feel like I have to play shitty Fortnite, shitty Valorant that I hate.
It's like a lot of people that just have to do Valorant videos every day. Like, if that's your thing, like, dog, you playing Valorant every day? That's like a nightmare world. Valorant of all games, to make videos and act like it's like you're having fun. That's like a hell punishment.
As you enter your 500th hour of Death Stranding 2. When did you realize you were famous?
When the dude at like Target, he was like, "Hey, I like you."
Wait, what were you buying? Were you like just buying like deodorant?
At Target? I was
yeah.
I probably had like a thing full of watermelons. Probably like 10 watermelons.
Before we wrap, I want to make sure that you have time to get some plugs in. What do you want to plug?
I'm gonna plug in the Star of Providence Moto coming out this summer. And we're bringing the Animal Well one back for summer on the Big Mode store.
Perfect. Any other games that you want to plug?
No.
What do you actually? Wait. I want to do journalism. I'm gonna get a scoop. What you got a new game coming out? Any top secret scoops you can give me?
Well, it's very, very top secret, and I don't want anything getting out. Okay.
But
I'm just gonna say maybe Dead Man isn't so dead.
Oh, okay. I think that's a great spot to end it. Thank you so much. And everybody remember, you go buy that cool stuff because it's what keeps these secrets alive. Here is where we split up. If you are a Patreon subscriber, you will get more Dunkey conversation right after this. We talk about games critics. We talk about games criticism, things that Dunkey has spoken about before and has had some controversial opinions on. Has he changed his mind? You'll have to listen to find out. And if you're not a Patreon subscriber, no worries at all, because there is still plenty of more show. Right now we have Act 2, a guide to Death Stranding 2 for your brain. That's right. It's a guide, but not the usual guide that you find when you Google, how to beat the boss. I think that you will enjoy it. So, let's get to it. Act 2, a guide to Death Stranding for your brain meat. What follows is a guide to Death Stranding 2, though it won't teach you how to find a specific quest, beat a challenging boss, or unlock a rare item. Instead, it's a guide to enjoying the game's richest fruit, its ideas. There's no way for me to say that without it sounding cheesy, but it's true! The ideas are good! Now, don't mistake this for books-level boring. Death Stranding 2 is the most fun I've had with a video game this year because its pleasures are holistic. Moment to moment, it feels so nice to haul cargo across staggeringly beautiful landscapes in Mexico and Australia, whether that's by foot or truck or monorail or zip lines. In terms of session-to-session gameplay, whenever you can finally make some time and sit down, the sequel's hour-long missions borrow liberally from Kojima's previous series, particularly Metal Gear Solid 5. If you need tactical shotguns, spray and pray military operations, and electric hand grenades that can neutralize a tank, that's an option here. Though rarely is it mandatory. You love recon and planning stealth, that's just as viable. And for the long game, Death Stranding 2 includes a propulsive story about quite literally connecting people across the world. And it manages to tell said story in a fraction of the cutscenes of its predecessor, rarely, if ever, wearing out its welcome. But what binds all of this together, like the game's thick chiral tar, is an endless fountain of themes and ideas for you to chew on. Kojima and company bombard the player with art, philosophy, politics, and ideas, then send them on 30-minute drives without much to do beyond listening to good music, checking in on the map, processing what the fuck just came in contact with their brain and their heart. It's the gameplay that gets you to buy Death Stranding, that gets you to play night after night after night. But it's the ideas that stay with you long after you turn off the console. Without spoiling anything whatsoever, I've collected 4 themes. 4 themes or big questions that this game is wrestling with that you'll want to keep an eye out for from the very beginning. And if you hook onto this, I think you'll end up having a really nice time. Number 1. Is this progressivism the video game? What do I mean by that? In Death Stranding 1 and 2, the overarching goal is to re-establish civilization through infrastructure. Though you play alone, your constructions appear in other players' versions of the world, and likewise, theirs appear in yours. This begins with tools and ropes that can help you climb a hill. It culminates with intercontinental highway networks that attach the west coast of a nation to the eastern seaboard and everything in between. The game gets easier as you play rather than harder. Early going, you're mucking through a swamp, getting your ass kicked. A few hours later, you're gliding on a monorail over that old headache, not having to worry a damn thing about it. Video games are inherently political because designers create systems that reward or punish certain behaviors. With Death Stranding 2, players who embrace a strategy that resembles Roosevelt's New Deal are the ones who are rewarded. The New Deal, in case you need a primer, is when the U.S. government massively funded public works projects that would be responsible for much of the infrastructure that modernized and connected America. It feels a little silly, I know, to be like, the New Deal, Death Stranding, they're the same thing. But it's true. Here's the thing about video games. If you want them to get better, they have to take bigger swings, even if it isn't a game where you can throw poop grenades. Anyway, the New Deal was actually bigger than just public works. That's the thing that most people remember. But Roosevelt emphasized the 3 R's. Those are relief for the unemployed and for the poor, recovery of the economy back to normal levels, and reforms of the financial system to prevent a repeat depression. Which brings us to Part 2, corporate skepticism. In Death Stranding 2, the group that has asserted itself into connecting the world isn't a government, despite it operating and presenting as one, which makes it hard for any reform. It's a corporation, a massive, powerful corporation that is taking increasingly privately held control over the means of distribution and communication globally. Now, for modern players, there's a clear connection to on-demand delivery companies like Amazon and Uber, along with social media platforms like Meta and TikTok. But the historical comparison is much older. In an interview with Edge magazine in May, Kojima said, "The first game was like the Silk Road. It was about extending connections across a country to allow useful supplies to travel, but the flip side is that negative things can travel more freely too. Cockroaches, violence, drugs." You can see that in Death Stranding. As the game goes on, it becomes an increasingly violent place, building towards a truly pseudo-apocalyptic conclusion. In Death Stranding 2, the companies themselves start to feel more clearly nefarious. Here's Kojima again on Edge, talking about the impact of trade routes in the sequel. "It's represented by the prevalence of weapons. I'm trying to conjure the era of the East India Company, when resources could move freely around the world, but at the same time, this enabled these private companies to become more powerful than governments." Now, this is messy, because as Sam, you are the first person that new trade partners meet across Mexico and Australia, and you're the one who convinces them to get plugged into this network. You are the tip of the spear of the company's work, which raises a really big question. What responsibility does your character have in representing and spreading a powerful company and its technology, neither of which your character really understands? Theme 3, the COVID of it all. Now, like I said, Death Stranding launched before COVID-19 spread across the world. Its creation was inspired by the election of Donald Trump and Brexit. Hideo Kojima, in response, wanted to make a game about bringing people together. He spoke about how most games prioritize the club, the caveman tool for violence and control. With Death Stranding, he wanted to emphasize the rope or the strand. Here's his first public explanation.
This is a quote from a short story, Rope, by an author that I like, Kobo Abe. The mankind first invented a club or rod. It's a tool invented to keep threats away, and then the man invented rope to keep and catch valuable things. So the rod and the rope, thanks to these tools, we have human civilization. Then how does it apply to the game world? Please remember about these action games.
So talking about action games, in early days, a game was really the player and the PC hitting each other with a rod or a club. Then games were standalone. The story would develop as a player expels enemies with a club. Next, players were connected with one another online. Now you had a match. Later, there emerged the concept of co-op, where players cooperated with each other against the CPU as a common enemy. At that point, although players were connected, still connection was based on clubs or rod element. In Death Stranding, I want to propose a next step, a future of the game. Here I am to offer a new game where players are connected by a strand or rope-like elements. Of course, clubs will still be used for battle, but at the end of the day, I want to offer a action game where people get connected with different elements than just clubs.
With the original Death Stranding, Kojima imagined a world in which people quarantined in their little bubbles, but slowly got reconnected in pursuit of a common drive to save the world. To many players who played the game months after it came out, in the thick of the pandemic, the game's quarantines and delivery labor felt prophetic. And yet, Hideo Kojima has said the pandemic inspired him to scrap the original script for Death Stranding 2. With similarities to a world in quarantine, Kojima sunk into something that, as he describes it, sounds like a depressive state. Across interviews leading to the release of Death Stranding 2, Kojima has spoken about how difficult the development process was, that he was unable to be in the same creative space as his coworkers, that he couldn't be available for motion capture, that he felt alone. I can see how someone in that position would look back on a game about quarantine and technology bringing people together and have a deep skepticism. In a recent group interview, The Verge quoted Kojima reflecting on post-pandemic life. I think we're a little stronger. If you could use that experience of connecting with one another from the game, I want you to maybe use that experience in real life. Not just in your Death Stranding world, but after you go outside. You feel something in your real world every day, and I want you to link what you felt playing as well. And one last theme before we go. Theme number 4. Whose story is this? For a game all about connections, the main character is kind of disconnected. Without spoilers, as Death Stranding 2 progresses, more people will join the ship on which Sam serves. Notice, I don't say it's Sam's ship. He just has a room alongside many others. Where in the original Death Stranding, Sam and the player would receive hours of exposition delivered directly to them, now the story largely happens off stage. Fragile, played by Lea Seydoux, is the ship's captain, and often she sends Sam on missions while story happens in other rooms of the ship, outside of the player's sight. Sam and the player get texted updates on any info Fragile feels they need to know. And as the game progresses, we get to a point where Sam will walk into story moments midway through them happening. He lingers in the door, sometimes covered in tar and blood from a mission, quietly listening before going to bed after a long day making deliveries in solitude. There is an unusual decentering of the protagonist and by proxy, the player. And as you play, it's worth asking yourself why. And that is my first little game guide. I hope that it makes your dozens, if not hundreds of hours in Death Stranding 2 all the richer. If you like this format, let me know, and I'll keep it in mind for future releases. Let's take a quick break, and then the news. Welcome to Act 3, the news of the week. After the Nintendo Switch 2 launch and a month of Summer Games Fest and countless other precedent streams, video game news has taken something of a summer holiday. But I would be remiss not to share a few stories. Beginning with a piece on EA's CEO's pay that shows the power of visualized data journalism. At GameFile, fantastic newsletter, Stephen Totilo converted the pay increase of EA CEO Andrew Wilson into a discourse by graphing the salary alongside the median income of an EA employee. Wilson received $30.5 million in cash and stock pay for the 12 months ending in March 31st, 2025. That's nearly $5 million up from the year before. So needless to say, when you check out Tilo's graph, be prepared to scroll for a very, very long time to close the gap. Even beyond the graph, Totilo does an excellent job of explaining the bizarre and often maddening ways that video game CEOs are paid. Elsewhere, Nintendo made a small change in Mario Kart World to how online courses are selected, and competitive players are pissed. You see, competitive players wanted to ensure that they always played more traditional 3-lap circuit races, the kind where you go around the course 3 times. The patch, however, ensures people often see an intermission race, in which players race from one course to another, or to put another way, a single lap. Is this bad for competitive players? Probably. Is this good for the much larger audience of non-competitive players and truer to the intended experience by the game makers? Probably. Do I find the forever war between Nintendo and people who want to turn Mario products into esports entertaining? Definitely. Last thing, New York City voters selected the Democrat candidate for mayor who has a clear pathway for victory in the general election later this year. And listeners, he is a gamer. That's right. The 33-year-old progressive Zoran Mamdani cut his teeth on city management 20 years earlier in Sim City, for real. PC Gamer collected a series of tweets and stories that tie Mamdani to a 2002 New York Magazine story about what gifts city kids wanted for the holidays. Mamdani's wish list included books, FIFA 2003, and SimCity 3000. As I said earlier in this very episode, video games are inherently political because the designers decide what behaviors and strategies should be rewarded and punished. SimCity skews progressive, favoring city managers who prioritize environmentalism and social welfare, valuing thorough infrastructure while also considering the potential ramifications of pollution and overdevelopment. Then again, it can also be read as neoliberal. In a 2015 Politico story on the politics of video game economies, Michael Peck writes, "Playing SimCity well requires not only embracing supply-side economics, but taxing the poor more than the rich. One can almost see a mob of progressive gamers marching on City Hall to stick Mayor McSim's head on a pike." As the story notes, SimCity is many young people's first exposure to economics. I wonder how Mamdani feels about CEO pay. Anyway, that's all for the news of the week. And that is a wrap on Death Stranding and Dunkey. Next week, are video games okay? For real this time, we're doing it. Strange Scaffolds Zalavir Nelson Jr. joins me for Postgame's first annual video game physical. We will report the health of video games from the creators to the community to the business to the culture, and we will make the case that 2025 is the golden era of video games. and we will also make the case that it isn't. But for now, I begin my farewell. A reminder, post-games supporters get the show and the newsletter early on Fridays at 5 p.m. Eastern. They get extra acts and bonus materials. This week, Patreon listeners got an extra interview segment with Dunkey about his series of videos dunking on game critics and how his opinions have evolved. Like I said in the beginning, people can change their minds. Each month, Patreon supporters get a video in my ongoing series, Video Game Journalism 101. The first episode is already live. And no ads on anything. Subscribe to the Patreon at patreon.com/postgames. Subscribe to the newsletter for free at post.games. Postgames logo by James Barham, theme by Mark Sparling, and a special thank you to this week's guest, Dunkey. If you like the show, please consider sharing it with a friend or leaving a review. We're very early days, and I intend to make this show my full-time focus for years to come, but that will only happen with your help. Thank you for listening. I'll see you next week.